Hey everyone, me Kevin here. In this video, we're going to cover some really good news about the future of stimulus, but I'm also going to provide a little bit of current bad news on stimulus, along with a whole host of other updates. Let's get into this right after I mention, get this, Donald Trump might be wanting to start his own party in the future. So stay tuned. That could be quite an announcement. Instead of Democrats and Republicans, we would have the party of the Donald. But for now, let's talk about the bad news with the current stimulus and the good news with future stimulus. We got a lot to hit, so let's get right into it. First, folks, the bad news has to do with the good old SBA. We saw this coming. I warned of this, and I hate the SBA so much. I've always said it, and if you work for the SBA, it's not you, it's the system. I am so sorry, folks. The EIDL grants are not what we're expecting. Not only are the only people who tentatively can get the entire $10,000 as we expected, the people who have had a 30% reduction in revenue and are in a low-income community, aka those are the only people who can get the full $10,000 EIDL grant, but the SBA will reach out to you directly. There will not be a new portal for you to apply for the EIDL grant. And the EIDL Advance is no longer available. That is, even though they're getting more money to do the grant, they are not going to give anybody who's applied or who wants to apply now grants. They're just going to go through their backlog of old applications. So that could be potentially good news if you previously applied and then you were told, hey, we don't have any money left to give you. Maybe you might end up seeing $1,000 per employee show up. But this whole $10,000, no matter who you are thing, as we expected, because we knew the SBA was going to use this loophole. We talked about this many times on this channel. The SBA was going to do this, and no surprise, they came in and said, nope, the only people who are getting the $10,000 are people who are, again, suffering a 30% economic decline and who are located in a low-income community. And the SBA will reach out to you. You can't even apply. So if you are in a low-income community and you didn't apply the first time, you can't even go back in and apply right now. It's actually even worse than we thought it was going to be. Like, I thought they were going to do this with the targeted grants, and they were going to do the advance of $1,000 per employee, but they're not even opening that portal up again. Like, the SBA is just straight up sucking. Okay, now, we got to get out of this hole because this is a not so good update. Obviously, what I'll do is I'll link this so you could see this if you want to look at that page and read it in detail. It's too depressing for me to read all of right now. Just go to metkevin.com/SBA sucks. Okay, metkevin.com/SBA sucks, and you'll be able to read that page. It'll redirect you to that page. For now, though, let's try to think of some positive. The positive that we have right now, the PPP loans, and we've got very good news on stimulus checks and the future of stimulus checks. So let's focus quickly on PPP. If you have not applied yet for the PPP, please, if you are self-employed, you're an independent contractor, gig worker, realtor, Uber driver, Lyft driver, apply. I had somebody, while I was gaming with course members, 2 nights ago, come into our voice chat, and they're like, Kevin, I got a PPP question, can I ask? I'm like, sure, why not? And they're like, I had 3 months of income in 2019. I made about $5,000 on a side gig. And guess what my answer was for the individual when they said, should I apply for the PPP? When in doubt, you should apply. You should take 3 months divided by, or $5,000 worth of income divided by 3 months. There you go. That's your average monthly income for the time that you are working. Use that to apply. See what happens. The worst thing they could do is say no. The hardest challenge that people, I think, get stuck on is figuring out what their monthly income is. Just literally take what your income is and divide it by however many months that you worked on that job, and give it a shot. Apply. But anyway, if I finally convinced you to apply, the applications are now open. I have received dozens of emails from local credit unions and companies online saying you can now apply for the PPP. And if you have not applied for the first PPP yet, apply for the first one first. And then just wait. You could ask for the second draw later. Just apply for the first one first. Get your application in. And talk to your reps, too. After you get assigned a rep, after you apply, you'll get directed as to whether or not you should immediately apply for a second one or you should wait. The bank will help you. They want you to do these loans. Remember, they take no risk. One place, if you don't have one, you could go to Cross Rivers application. You can go there by going to metkevin.com/Veeam. That is not an affiliate link. That is not like get 4 free stocks with Webull or get $30 for free when you deposit $100 links down below. Those are affiliate links. The Veeam one, just a redirect link. So is the SBA sucks. That's a redirect as well. I don't get anything on those redirects, and I want to be transparent there. Now, let's talk about the next stimulus and more good news here, okay? So this is where we get to talk about good news. So, folks, Janet Yellen is going to be the biggest freaking cheerleader of stimulus this year. Like, I don't want to like falsely get anybody hyped up over here or anything, but let's just say she is basically the twin of Jerome Powell. She spent 3.5 hours today defending stimulus. And I did a 33-ish minute video breaking down what her responses were to some of these really important things. She's a huge stimulus proponent. I mean, people are like beating her up about the debt is so high. This is bad. This is bad. This is bad. She's like, no, we need it. We got to spend more now. We have to keep spending, because if we stop spending on the people who are hurt, then the rest of the economy gets damaged. We don't need to worry about the debt right now. We don't need to worry about inflation right now. We don't need to worry about interest rates right now. None of those are an issue. Interest rates are trending down anyway. The interest rate on our debt is very low. And then she got railed again from other people. Yeah, but what about this angle of the debt being too high or inflation happening? She's like, no, more stimulus, more stimulus. She almost implied that this next Biden stimulus package was just going to be, one part of what's to come. And she also gave us guidance when people were beating her up about the $1,400 checks, and they're like, well, what about the $1,400 checks? Those aren't as targeted as they should be. She goes, well, actually, they are targeted because they're going to have. She also, it was a little unclear how she responded to this, but she made it seem like the same income thresholds we had the last time are what we're going to have now. She goes, they are targeted. There's an income limit of $75,000 for an individual, $150,000 for a married couple on Biden's plan. Well, that matches what the old school definition was, but the phase out might be much higher. So in other words, people making over 200K might still get it. So we'll see how that works, especially how the language ends up coordinating with the $600. Does it mean that you get $600 subject to the phase out, or is it $600 plus $1,400 subject to the phase out? We don't know that yet, but she did let us know that the income thresholds were similar, and she ardently defended the stimulus checks the way they were done the last time, again this time, as very targeted. She finds that, yeah, there are going to be some people that might throw the money into savings accounts or stocks, but the problem is, how else are you going to identify people who have maybe lost their jobs but aren't on unemployment because they have to stay home and take care of the kids and they've left the labor force? How are you going to support these so many millions of American people who need help other than just doing stimulus checks? That's the way to do it. And there was almost this implication that we will see, and I've kind of mentioned this already, but I just want to reiterate this because I thought it was really phenomenal. When you watch the clips from her, it's like, wow, she's kind of suggesting that we might not be able to stop doing stimulus for not just here again in February or March, but we might have to do it again in the summer or the fall and have another big package. Who knows? But that was a little bit what she was implying. Huge implications, by the way, for spending on infrastructure, spending on community college to get people interested in electrical engineering or being part of an infrastructure transformation, climate transformation for the country. That's obviously really big if you're in any of the EV stocks. But really, I mean, I got to stick to stimulus here as much as I love talking about stocks. Janet Yellen, she is somebody you want. If you are pro-stimulus, you want Janet Yellen. If you're like, our currency is getting debased, this is horrible, they're printing money, they don't even care about the value of the dollar, they don't care about what this is going to do for inflation, I mean, you're not going to like Janet Yellen. You're going to miss Steve Mnuchin on that, who is much more, let's wait and see. Steve Mnuchin is a fan of stimulus checks, don't get me wrong, but he's much more wait and see than Janet Yellen. Janet Yellen is, we can't do enough, we need to do more. And that's a big person because now you've got Jerome Powell saying that at the Fed and you got Janet Yellen saying that at the Treasury. So the non-government body says more stimulus and the government body says more stimulus. So what's Biden going to do when he's thinking about, hey, what do we do regarding the economy? He's going to talk to the Treasury Secretary. And what's the Treasury Department going to say? What's the Fed's going to say? What is the Federal Reserve going to say? Stimulus. That's a pretty cohesive message right there. So for the future of stimulus, I think that is very, 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 very good news. I mean, really, anything basically Powell says, Jerome Powell at the Fed says, she echoes. Now, some other news as well. Chuck Schumer, and this could be seen as good news as well for Stim. Chuck Schumer, really enthused right now on getting 3 things done, he says. He says, we got 3 things we got to do. Do quickly. Impeachment, nominations, and COVID. Got to move them all fast. You know, kind of that faster New Yorkish accent that I can't really mimic that well. But, yeah, I mean, I know there are many of us that are watching that are like, come on, just, like, forget about the impeachment, the impeachment trial that needs to be done, because that is going to push back nominations and COVID. It's going to be a little bit of a struggle to see how that all gets done. We'll know within the next couple of weeks here. But either way, within the next couple of weeks, the whole impeachment and nominations thing, that'll be done for now. And then the sole focus will be COVID, probably for the month of February is my guess. Now, Mitch McConnell also seems to be a little bit trying to align with Democrats in that he pretty well hardcore slammed Donald Trump this morning when he said that the mob that invaded the Capitol was, quote, fed lies. And McConnell went on to say, quote, they were provoked by the president and other powerful people. It's almost like he's kind of siding with Democrats. There are a lot of people who are like, that's it. Mitch McConnell's become a Democrat. It's definitely a hit on Trump, right? He's being very clear about that. McCarthy and McConnell, by the way, and Pence, they're not going to go wave goodbye to Trump when he flies away on his plane tomorrow, or the last flight for Air Force One. That's rare. That's really rare. Usually, like, they have like a seeing off ceremony, and all those people, the leaders from the party, they go, you know, wave goodbye, they say goodbye, wave goodbye, and the plane flies away. None of them are going. It's, yeah, I mean, it's no surprise Trump's like, oh, let's make our own party. Can't trust the Republicans, can't trust the Democrats. I mean, I'm going to hold comments. Anyway, so... more importantly, though, regarding the future of stimulus, Mitch McConnell and Schumer are already working on a power-sharing agreement to determine how negotiations will be handled in the Senate. Right now, Mitch McConnell is demanding that the filibuster remain intact, which obviously the filibuster is important for Mitch McConnell because it means that McConnell has the power to prevent a bill from passing unless it gets 60 votes. The only way to get a bill to pass, with a few exceptions, is getting 60 votes. And that's what you do to invoke cloture, to end debate on a bill, and you can pass a bill that way. Now, without the filibuster, like if we got rid of the filibuster, well, then Democrats would be much more capable of passing a whole variety of bills. They could almost have whatever power that they want. So obviously, Mitch McConnell's like, do not take away my filibuster, because it's kind of the only thing Mitch McConnell has left. If he loses the filibuster, he's a shell of a man. He's got no power. Now, Democrats do have the power to use the budget reconciliation process. I call it the recon process. They call it the budget process. My way sounds cooler, but it's the same thing. Now, this is a little bit complicated, though. The recon process is not only more time-consuming, but there are more restrictions in terms of what kinds of bills you can pass, and Democrats only have 9 opportunities to use the budget recon process. Now, there is the opportunity for Chuck Schumer to change rules, and this is because Chuck Schumer tomorrow becomes the majority leader. Mitch McConnell will be the minority leader in the Senate tomorrow, and when Chuck Schumer is the leader, basically, Chuck Schumer has the power to start changing some of the rules, and he could say, hey, you know, we can do a lot more under budget recon. I just realized my interpretation is we can do whatever we want under budget recon. So there's going to be a little bit of a power struggle here for the time being. We haven't actually seen a power struggle like this for the last 20 years. In 2001, we had the last power struggle like this where we had a 50-50 split between George W. Bush and Democrats at the time. Except George W. Bush's vice president was Dick Cheney. He's obviously a Republican, so that's how Republicans got the edge there. Now Democrats have the edge. Now Schumer, again, he's got some tricks up his sleeve to work this out. A deal is apparently close to being finalized. A power-sharing deal is being close to being finalized between Schumer and McConnell, though there's a tentative stalemate over what to do with this filibuster. So we'll see how this goes. Either way, the big point here is Chuck Schumer, McConnell is basically struggling to hold on to any semblance of power, and Chuck Schumer's like, yo, dude, I don't care, man. We're getting stimmy done. We're getting lots of stimmy done. And when you just zoom out for a moment, take a seat back, like, look, we got some bad news from the SBA. It was expected. I prepped for this. Because when I read the language, I'm like, these people are going to screw us. I see it coming. The SBA is going to screw us. And I didn't want to lie to my audience and go, you can guarantee the $10,000 coming, only to turn around and go, oh my gosh, I can't believe the SBA screwed us. No, I told you up front, I don't think the 10K is coming for everybody, just targeted. And I do think the SBA is going to screw us, right? But anyway, the point here is that when we zoom out and we forget the bad news for a moment, we zoom out, look at the good news that we actually have. Obviously you're watching a stimulus video, so you're interested in stimulus or its implications in the marketplace. The good news for stimulus is very clear. I mean, it's actually huge news. Biden, huge proponent of stimulus. Treasury Secretary, even more stimulus focused than I thought. I spent 3.5 hours today listening to her, and I'm blown away. Watch the video. After this video, watch just some of the clips of her talk about stimulus. It is powerful. I mean, she does not let these people walk over her. And now in my video, I didn't necessarily show all of what the senators were saying. I don't think you want to go through the whole 3.5 hour video, but you'll see her responses. Just imagine Republicans like John Thune. Come on, John Thune. How many times have we mentioned John Thune and we're like, there's John Thune again complaining about, nope, we just need to wait and see. He was like the echo for Mitch McConnell. It was so annoying. But anyway, and that's not to be partisan, right? Like it was annoying in terms of not getting the stimulus done. That's not slamming Republicans or Democrats. I'm always in the middle. But golly, in terms of stimulus, Biden, Janet Yellen, former Fed chairwoman, now Treasury Department, Jerome Powell with the money printer. You should be smiling about the future of stimulus right now, and the future of unemployment pay, and the future of what's coming in terms of how the support that's going to be coming, or go buy Bitcoin. I don't know. I can't all full in endorse Bitcoin. Bitcoin, just to be very, very clear, I say that jokingly. Bitcoin represents a very, very small portion of my portfolio. I want to say it represents under 0.5% of my entire investing portfolio. Actually, if I include real estate, it represents under 0.25% of my entire portfolio. So, anywho, thank you so very much for watching. I always want to be very transparent with you and share whatever news I have. We've got good news and bad news here, and folks, I appreciate you. Hopefully you found this helpful. We'll see you for an